Okay, so for this lesson, we're going to do prepositional phrases. I just want to go over the first part of these notes here. We go over prepositions and we go over phrases. Both of these are covered in other lessons, but I'll go over them quickly here for you. So remember, a preposition is a word that expresses the relationship between a noun or pronoun and other words in the sentence. So I usually have a ball that I throw around in my classroom, but I could say the book is on the desk, okay? Or the book is under the desk, or the book, I'm going to throw the book to the student, okay? Those are different on, to, under, in. Those are types of prepositions. A phrase is a group of words that can contain a subject and a verb, but not both. I just have examples. Some of these are prepositional phrases, which we'll talk about really quickly. So by my favorite author, from my friend, about my friend, famous baseball player, are painted. All of these have either a subject, either a noun or a verb, but not both. So I put those phrases into sentences. The book was written by my favorite author. That's a phrase. The letter was from my friend. It's my most cherished possession. They gossiped about my friend. A famous Cal Ripken Jr., a famous baseball player, and the doors are painted black. So those are examples of phrases and sentences. But now what I want to talk about are particular types of phrases called prepositional phrases. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit. A prepositional phrase is a group of words that begins with a preposition and ends with an object of the preposition. The object of the preposition is a noun, pronoun, or gerund. I want you to know that all three of these things, you don't necessarily have to know what they are, but all of these function as nouns. So obviously you know what a noun is, a person, place, or thing. A pronoun is a word that takes the place of a noun, and a gerund is a verb that's turned into a noun. Okay, so like skating is a verb, but when you use skating as a noun in a sentence, it becomes a gerund. So skating is awesome. I'm gonna write cool because it's easier, quicker. Okay, so skating here is a verb that we took and used as a subject of the sentence, so it's a gerund, okay? Don't stress about that too much. So examples are onto my bed, on that shelf, down the road, about the birds, to his mom. So in blue are the prepositions, and in red are the object of the prepositions. Those are all nouns in this case. So I threw the books onto my bed. The book on that shelf is mine. I rode my bike down the road. My poem about birds won 3 awards, and Peter wrote a letter to his mom. So if we go back to our examples and notice all of these phrases, prepositional phrases, start with a preposition and they end with an object. Okay, I'm gonna scroll up. Now, which one of these examples are prepositional phrases? By is a preposition and author is a noun. So that's this object of the preposition. So that's a prepositional phrase. Okay. From my friend. From is a preposition and it ends with a noun. So that's a preposition. Okay. About my friend. About is another type of preposition. And again, French. So that's another preposition phrase. A famous baseball player. A is not a preposition. Player is a noun technically, but because it doesn't begin with a preposition, it is not a prepositional phrase. And are is not a preposition, that's a verb, and we don't even end for the noun here. So that's also not a preposition. Okay, so there are different types of phrases, and the phrases that we're looking at now are prepositional phrases. Okay, so these guys right here. Now I'd like to talk about how prepositional phrases can either function as an adjective or an adverb. Okay, and you might call them adjectival phrases or adverbial phrases. So for prepositional phrases that act as adjectives, what they're doing is they're describing a noun because that's what adjectives do. Adverbial phrases are prepositional phrases that describe how a verb is being done. So I'm going to go through it. I'm going to, in red, make my noun that's being described, underline that in red. Okay, so these nouns are all being described by the prepositional phrase. You may notice that a pattern here is that they follow the noun directly. That quite frequently is the case. So the book on the shelf, that's describing the book. The poem about birds, that's describing the birds. On my bed is describing which books. The bike, again, down the road is describing which bike. And the letter to his mom is describing which letter. Okay, so we've got adjectival phrases. These prepositional phrases are all describing nouns. I'll do green for verbs. Okay, so adverbial phrases don't always have to be right next to the verb that they modify. So I threw the books onto the bed. Here is the verb that's being modified here. Okay, I rode my bike down the road. Peter wrote a letter to his mom. And who put my book on that shelf? And I am writing about birds. Okay, so here now we've got through. We're describing where this was being thrown onto my bed. So onto my bed is now describing how the books were thrown. Rode, okay, is the verb. I rode my bike down the road. That's actually describing the verb rode. Okay, it sounds weird in my head because road and road, they're two homonyms there. They sound the same, but they're two different types of words. Peter wrote a letter to his mom. To his mom is describing how he wrote. And who put the book on my shelf? On the shelf is modifying put, and about birds is modifying about am writing. Okay, so you notice I used a lot of the same prepositional phrases, but depending on how they're used in a sentence, they can be adjectival or adverbial. And that's the lesson.